I wanted to share with you today's session. A homeopathic teacher who was very close to me, Dr. Sujit Chatterjee. We lost him a few days back. I met him about maybe a decade back, about 10 years back. He was a very, very simple, down to earth, genuine kind of homeopath. And the most important thing was he was very open. He was very open to all ideas. He was very open to all suggestions, all thoughts, even from a young intern like me or someone very senior. So he was very warm actually and very accommodative, very respectful, and very innovative in his own way. But he was really a special man. And I remember him well because when I joined um, many years back, I was in charge of a charitable OPD, and he was um, the main head of it. And the name of the charitable OPD was SR Fatak Charitable OPD. And Dr. Sujit would go out of the way for people who couldn't afford. And I would call him that, there's a patient, but this patient cannot afford, and he wants to see you. And we have to study this case. And he will say, okay, no problem. If we can't afford, we will help. We will organize the time. So he had a special heart, this man. That's what I remember about him. It's very interesting. Out of all the out of all the cases, results that I remember about him, the most I remember was his heart. It's very interesting how you remember a person actually. Lots to learn from. Yeah, he had a special energy. Very senior, had a lot of experience. One day I wanted to organize the first ever repertory series a few years back. It meant that I was going to start teaching repertory. And it was in such a way that my lecture was supposed to be before lunch. And his heart was so big and so accommodative. And he was so secure that he would tell that, Gaurang, I will take the first session. I will become the opening batsman. I will start the session and I will introduce you. And then you come and you share. And it was very special. He was very, very accommodative, very supportive, and very down to earth. Until actually a month back, we were on the emails, constantly in touch. A very special man. For a day or two, I couldn't, write anything for him because people who know him well only will understand that he was a special man. But there were few remedies that I learned from him. Of course, there are many remedies I learned from a lot of people. But there are few things that I wanted to share with you, which I thought that may also be interesting as part of our talk. He did a lot of provings. you know. One of the remedies he proved was Ficus religiosa. And you know that the main symptom of Ficus religiosa is hemorrhages. And Ficus religiosa is the Bodhi tree. It's a variety of fig tree. And you know that it has a very, very special connection. It's known as the world tree or tree of life. And the fact that Gautam Buddha meditated and achieved enlightenment. Um, it's very sacred, this tree. And he proved this remedy. He did a proving and he found some interesting patterns in this proving. And the main kind of patterns he found, of course, we know that it's pathologically mainly for hemorrhages. And why this was interesting for him is because he treated many oncological cases, which we studied with him. And in many cases of uterine cancers, lung cancers, there was a lot of hemorrhages. And Ficus religiosa and Ficus indica is one of the commonest remedies that we give normally in India. We would give it in mother tincture in 6C, 6X, 1X. And when he proved this remedy, he found this deep kind of connection, which is which is constant desire to meet old friends, that deep kind of deep connection, and fever from grief. There was a lot of sadness, and then the patient develops fever. The feeling of deep connection for mother, lot of connection with old family members, losing contacts, separating from friends and family. So this desire to meet, desire to connect, and separating from someone whom they were close to was a very interesting pattern that he found in this remedy, which is very interesting, isn't it? And of course, you know it pathologically to be the main remedy for hemorrhages, epistaxis, bleeding pile. But this remedy, a lot of interesting proving is done by Dr. Sujit. Yeah. Another remedy which, of course, he did a lot of work with post radiation, post chemo, uh, homeopathic analysis, homeopathic remedies. And he would use a lot of newer remedies like radon, radium bromide, cobalt nitricum. And he developed his own way of using actinides and lanthanides in post chemo and radiation. He used many newer remedies. He clinically verified some interesting remedies as well. I was lucky enough to see some of his cases, study, ask him questions. Uranium nitricum was another very interesting remedy that, of course, we know uranium nitricum clinically to be a very well-known remedy for diabetes, sudden weight loss, yeah, flatulence like lycopodium. We know these indications for uranium nitricum. We also know uranium nitricum comes below the row of aurum metallicum in the periodic table. It comes into the seventh row in that way. And he did a lot of provings from of uranium nitricum, and I want to share some with you and whatever I could um, understand, and also how I understand it and use it. Uranium nitricum, he understood, has a lot of themes, and he found it to be very close to aurum metallicum. It's not like aurum, but it looks very similar to aurum. Typically, classically, most of us would give aurum to these cases, which how he understood uranium. And he also found uranium to be very important remedy in oncological cases, in cases of systemic failures, in pathological cases, in cases where the chemo radiation has been given and the vital force is really deteriorating. Uranium nitricum in general. He found this deep pattern of religiousness, lot of bhajan, lot of desire to connection of spiritual kind of supreme power, praying to God to give them power to have strength to do things. This is very deep state of uranium nitricum, a state of lot of responsibility. And the idea of responsibility is much more beyond aurum metallicum in uranium nitricum, the way he did the proving. The main idea is to do something beyond themselves, something something that they can give back to the community, to the world, something that they can they can bring the next line of leadership and kind of give them the mantle and go ahead. There's a lot of experience of lot of heaviness, lot of lightness, lot of overburden, overloading, and experience as if pumped up balloon. These all patterns came in the provings that he did. Lot of patterns of old age, terminal diseases, oncological cases. One of the dreams that came up in provings was dreams of old handicapped person. A lot of weakness, which is also a keynote of this remedy, actually, uranium nitricum. A lot of weakness, dropsy. Also the desire to achieve, to become popular, to become outstanding, and then to give it up and go away from the world. So it had this both patterns. in uranium nitricum. He also did proving of the remedy chocolate. Actually, not many of us know about this, but of course we know Jeremy Sher doing the proving and few more homeopaths doing. But he also did provings of chocolate. Interestingly, in his provings, um, one of the patterns that of course came was attachment and also of the family that chocolate belongs to. But he found the pattern of lot of suddenness and fear, also one of the patterns coming up, and also the pattern of getting connection, being with someone through generational connections, and also the pattern of enjoyment, and also the patterns, very interesting patterns of 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 coming up, of child in a boarding school, of food, of desire for affection, warmth, the feeling I am alone, lonely feeling. This is something that came up in the patterns of chocolate. So this is a little bit about some of the work, and I can go on about everything that I learned from such a special person like Dr. Sujit. I can just say that his contributions to homeopathy and homeopaths like me and so many of us is something beyond we can think. And the fact that legends never die, they live on through generations. Homeopathy will remember him as a very, very special hearted homeopath.